Good morning, my beautiful diamonds. It's SheilaTruelove. Today is Friday, December 13th. You know, I listen to my Bible reading through audio using the New Living Translation version, and I woke up to something that was being read at First John, in the book of First John. I don't remember the exact chapter it was, but it was saying that we are supposed to be living our life like, the way Jesus Christ lived his life. So of course I woke up and it's like 4 o'clock in the morning, and I woke up and I thought about, am I living my life the way Jesus Christ lived his? And what exactly does that mean? So, I was laying in my bed meditating on this because, as you know, I was raised as a Jehovah's Witness. And as a Jehovah's Witness, there's a lot of things that they teach that is just man-made, is made up. But anyway, focusing on what does it mean to live your life the way Jesus Christ lived. And then I thought about it. It means that we're supposed to embrace, and we're supposed to put emphasis on his teachings, his values, and the principles, and use that as a guiding force in our daily life. So then, of course, I said, well, if we're supposed to live our life the way Jesus did, Jesus didn't celebrate his birthday, Jesus Christ didn't celebrate holidays, does that mean that I'm not living accordingly? But of course, that's not what it meant. Jesus never got married. Does that mean marriage is something wrong? Jesus Christ never had a dog or cat. Does that mean it's wrong for us to do these things? Jesus Christ never had social media. Of course, he's Jesus. He could have created this back then if he wanted to, but he never did any of that. So I also began to ask myself, what are some of the things that the Bible doesn't mention explicitly, but they're not necessarily against biblical teachings? So then you know how I do. I like to do my research because I like to be thorough and know what I'm talking about. Now, the Bible doesn't mention airplanes or air travel, but it doesn't prohibit it either. Jesus Christ was never on an airplane, and don't say it wasn't available back then. Jesus Christ could create anything. He could have came up with these ideas way ahead of other people. Jesus Christ didn't. It's not in the Bible mentioning the internet and social media. The Bible didn't say that there's something wrong with communication and relationships and gaining wisdom that can be applied to online interactions. Jesus Christ and the Bible would never mention about vaccinations and modern medicine. The Bible doesn't mention about vaccinations or modern treatment, but it does emphasize that it is important for us to take care of our body. Matthew chapter 9, verse 12, 1 Corinthians chapter 6, verse 9 and 20. Jesus Christ doesn't even talk about democracy when it comes to voting. Now, he said his government, his kingdom is no part of this world. That's for Jesus Christ. The Bible doesn't mention democracy or voting, but it does teach the principles about being submissive to authority and to have respect for leaders and the importance of making wise decisions. Romans chapter 13, verse 1 through 7, 1 Timothy chapter 2, verse 1 through 4. What about wedding rings and wedding ceremonies? The Bible didn't mention marriage and weddings. It doesn't mention wedding rings. Now we know Jesus Christ, he had attended weddings, but there was no mention of bridal gowns and bridal veils. In fact, a lot of that is rooted deeply in paganism. The Bible doesn't mention marriage, and like I said, Jesus wasn't married, but like 1 Corinthians chapter 7 says, if you can't control yourself sexually, then it's better to marry than to burn. And the Bible does emphasize the importance of commitment, love, and being faithful in marriage. Ephesians chapter 5, verse 25 through 33. 1 Corinthians chapter 13, verse 1 through 7. What about physical sports and physical fitness? The Bible doesn't mention specific sports or modern fitness practices, but it does encourage us to take care of our body and to exercise physically. 1 Corinthians 6, 19 and 20. 1 Timothy 4, verse 8. What about music and art? The Bible mentions music and art in various contexts. It doesn't provide explicit instructions on modern forms of art or music, but it does mention how we should use our gifts that God gave us, and we should use those gifts to honor and to bring glory and to edify others. Psalms 150, 1 Corinthians 10:31. And when it comes to education and formal schooling, the Bible doesn't mention modern education systems or formal schooling, but it emphasizes the importance of having wisdom, knowledge, and instruction. What about clothing and fashion? It doesn't mention fashion and all of this. It tells you you're supposed to dress modestly. And it teaches us about modesty and humility. 1 Timothy 2, 9 and 10. 1 Peter chapter 3, verse 3 and 4. So this is just a small sample of just because Jesus Christ didn't do certain things, that don't mean that we can't do it. Like when it comes to holidays, you have to think about what are people using these holidays for. You see, Jesus Christ, he looks at your heart. People are merely using holidays as families getting together. When it comes to celebrating your birthday, like people celebrate Jesus' birthday. Why do they do that? They don't know exactly what day, so they pick December 25th. Why do people celebrate birthdays? After listening to some of the people in terms of why they celebrate Jesus' birthday, they're celebrating Jesus' birthday because that's a way to acknowledge and honor his humanity, as well as honoring how divine he is. They're celebrating his birthday to show appreciation. No one is thinking about anything evil or wicked or pagan. Jesus' birthday it's a widely accepted celebration, and it's like a tradition. You know, each family had their own tradition. Like I had Thanksgiving over at my bestie. Her way of celebrating Thanksgiving is beautiful, very spiritual. And then I had a Thanksgiving at my friend Diane. The way she celebrates it is totally different. So people have their own traditions. This have nothing to do with anything pagan. Just like people who put flowers on top of a casket at the burial, that's pagan. Wedding, pagan. You know, a lot of things you can think of, that piñatas, pagan. So many other things that have pagan origin, not only pagan origin, but is deeply rooted in paganism. There are just so many, things that have pagan origin. Many symbols and practices and traditions, they have evolved, however, over time, and their meanings have changed significantly. What was once considered pagan may now hold a completely different significance in modern times. And that's what a lot of these Jehovah's Witnesses don't understand. What something may have meant 100 or 1,000 years ago, that's not what it means this day and age. Holidays are nothing more than families getting together to be happy and to celebrate. So what does it mean for us to be and live our lives like Jesus Christ? To live our life like Jesus Christ, it means that we embrace his teachings, we embrace his values and principles as a guiding force in our daily life. And here are some aspects that I'm going to share with you, what it means and what Christians should strive to emulate. This is what we are supposed to focus on when it says we're supposed to be living our life like Jesus Christ. Number one, we're supposed to have love and compassion. Jesus showed unconditional love and compassion to everyone, regardless of their background or circumstances. He taught us to love our neighbors as we love ourselves. Mark chapter 12, verse 31. Jesus Christ never went around shunning people. When people fall off and they don't want to listen, sure, you may have to fall back, but the moment that person changes, then you are supposed to welcome them back like they did the prodigal son. They didn't leave that prodigal son out there 3 months, 6 months, a year of not associating with them, or 5 years. No, immediately when that prodigal son woke up and he returned to his senses, he was immediately welcomed back. You don't sit around and shun people and bust up families, because Jesus Christ was not about that. Even though Jesus Christ said, when you choose to follow me, you will have difficulty. He said, I didn't come to bring peace. I came to bring a division, because you're going to have a lot of your family and friends that's going to fall off away from you when you choose to follow Jesus Christ instead of following these imperfect human men or even women these days. No. When you make up your mind to become Christ-like, a disciple of Christ, when you look at the word Christian, the first 6 letters is Christ. Jesus Christ, to follow him and to live our life like Jesus means humility and serving people, ministering to people. Jesus lived a life of humility. He served others and putting their needs before his own. We don't live in a world like that now. They're telling us to everybody set boundaries, don't do this. Of course, you have to set boundaries to protect yourself. At the same time, you have to set reasonable boundaries. And these people are just getting crazy. You're not allowed to disagree with them. You're not allowed to feel differently. If you don't see things the way they see it, you're breaking and busting up their boundaries. You're being abusive or you're being disrespectful. That's not the way Jesus Christ lived. He lived a life of humility. And I recall he said, I didn't come here for people who are already doing well. He said, I came here for the sick. Well, people don't need a physician. Sick people do. So if you're living your life like Jesus Christ, yeah, I have the broken wing syndrome, and I'm proud of it. I see people who have potential, and I see people who are really trying and giving it their all, and they're really, really trying. And yes, I will continue with my broken wing syndrome, because that's definitely Christ-like. Jesus Christ, he served others. He washed his disciples' feet, demonstrating that true leadership is about serving other people. John chapter 13, verse 1 through 17. And what about Jesus? If you're living like Jesus, forgiveness and mercy, giving people grace. Jesus taught us to forgive others just as God forgives us. He showed mercy to those who wronged him. People who wronged him, he showed mercy, even praying for his enemies while he was on the cross. Luke chapter 23, verse 34. Integrity and honesty. Jesus was truthful and he was transparent in all his interactions. He taught us to be honest and authentic, even when it's difficult or unpopular. Matthew chapter 5, verse 37. Jesus also taught us selflessness and to make sacrifices. Jesus gave his life for the sake of humanity, demonstrating the ultimate act of selflessness and sacrifice. He taught us to put others' needs before our own and to be willing to make sacrifices for the greater good. John chapter 15, verse 13. Now we live in a world, what? I'm going to put your needs before mine? What did Jesus tell us? Of course, you have to use a sound mind, and you have to know who to help out in certain ways. Jesus Christ was no punk. Jesus Christ was no fool either. And when it comes to faith and trust, Jesus trusted his heavenly Father completely. Even in the face of uncertainty and adversity, he taught us to have faith in God's goodness and God's provisions and providing for us, trusting that he has our best interests at heart all the time. Matthew chapter 6, verse 25 through 34. Jesus also taught us about compassion for people who may be oppressed, people who are doing badly. We're supposed to have compassion and understanding. He showed special concern for people who were marginalized or people who were oppressed and people who were vulnerable. He taught us to care for the least of these and to advocate for justice and equality. Matthew chapter 25, verse 31 through 46. So by living our lives according to these principles, that's how you live your life the way Jesus did. It has nothing to do with all of this nonsense about, oh, you celebrate holidays, oh, you do this, oh, look at that. No. That's not what Jesus Christ put emphasis on. That's what the Pharisees kept putting emphasis on. By us demonstrating Jesus Christ's kind of love and compassion to everyone all around us, that's when you're imitating, because we can never emulate him. That emulate means to go above, to be like him and go above him. We can't do that. At the same time, we're supposed to become imitators of Christ. And when you do that, I promise you, you're going to lose so many family members.